Welcome back. I'm joined by Jason and Dara to talk high school football. But before we get to that, Jandy, let's take a look at where our cameras were last night and where they will be for North Dakota playoffs.
Yeah, South Dakota, the quarterfinals happened last night, and we were all over in many different classes. We'll have all the 11 AAA games, some 11 AA games as well, plus the St. Thomas More at Del Rapids upset. We've got that and post-game reaction from that game. And Yankton and Douglas, the only quarterfinal game that hasn't been played yet. We'll have highlights of that coming up tonight. In North Dakota, we're down to AAA action. We've got 4 games, 8 teams. We're going to cut it down to 4 after tonight. Plus, we'll have a preview of all the action coming up on Saturday in North Dakota.
All right, well, Jandy, you were out in that blustery weather yesterday filming some high school highlights, but anything exciting? What went on?
Yeah, let's take a look at a few of the highlights that we came up with, and one that was very exciting is this game. Aberdeen Central and O'Gorman tied most of the game. Less than a minute left. Isaac Struck runs in the touchdown. They get the 21-14 win. Washington played Rapid City Central. This thing got out of hand quickly. Tupac Capella scored 6 touchdowns on their way to a big 56-24 win. Brandon Valley had no problem with Rapid City Stevens. Braden Peterson punches in 3 more touchdowns. They won 35-17. Roosevelt, this game was close. Halftime, Watertown actually had the lead, but in the second half, Carter Lohr raised his team up, scored 2 touchdowns, and they get the 30-16 win in Howard Wood Field. Now, this was the game that was a bit of an upset. The road team, St. Thomas More, comes in and scores their touchdown, hits the extra point with 2 minutes left to take a 21-20 win. We've also got highlights coming up from Irene Wakanda playing against Garrettson. Very air-oriented team in Irene Wakanda got it done with a big win. And that's just a few of the highlights we'll have. We'll have much more, as well as post-game breakdown from all the games across South Dakota as well as North Dakota coming up tonight at 10:30.
Well, all of the games, because one of them, all the quarterfinal games were played last night except for one. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there was one in 11 AA that did not get played. Yankton was on their way to Douglas to make the trip, did not make it all the way out. The bus couldn't make the trip with the high winds, so they held back and rearranged that game for tonight. It's actually going on as we speak, so we'll have highlights of that one coming up on Varsity Sports Live as well. And let's also talk about the 11A game between St. Thomas More and Del Rapids. Now, this bracket looks a little different than we thought it might. Dakota Valley, definitely undefeated, good team. Madison, another good team that's been undefeated all year, but Millbank sneaking through to the semifinals, and St. Thomas More with their 6'6" sophomore quarterback, they got it done. Scored a touchdown through the air in the high winds and found a way to beat Del Rapids. So anything can happen out there on the fields, and can't wait to see how this next layer of the playoffs will unfold.
And we'll have better weather, maybe?
Maybe. Well, definitely in 2 weeks in the Dome we'll have better weather.
Oh, that's very true. All right, thanks so much, Andy. Well, coming up after the break, a deaf basketball player from Elk Point that refuses to let his disability get in the way of his game. Connor Hensey's story is coming up next.